All right, good morning, good afternoon, everyone joining us today. Welcome to the webinar on Trailhead DX 19 and Summer 19 Developer Highlights. Thank you for taking your time out of the day and joining the webinar. My name is Vishwa and I'll be your host for today. I'm joined with Satya Shekhar, Senior Developer Evangelist here at Salesforce. Hey Satya, how are you?
Hi Vishwa, I'm good.
All right, are you excited after a long break of the webinars?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm sure that you have got a lot of updates for us from Trailhead DX 19 and Summer 19. So let's get started with that. All right, so before we start the webinar, let me tell you that we might make some forward-looking statements about the features which are not generally available. So please make your purchasing decisions based on what's generally available. We are all social. You can always tweet us at Salesforce Devs. You can also follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn as Salesforce Developers. You can also find some awesome webinars and videos on our YouTube channel at Salesforce Developers. This webinar is being recorded and this would be available for reference for you on the same page where you have registered for this webinar, and we'll also post it on the YouTube channels. Before we start, I would like to mention a few points to note. Everyone has been muted, so kindly type in your questions in the questions window of the GoToWebinar. Do not wait until the end of the webinar. You can start posting your questions and our team will start answering questions. If we have any unanswered questions, we will definitely take it up at the end of the webinar during the Q&A sessions. Once the presentation begins, sometimes you may have issues seeing the slides or slides in advance or some audio issues. If that happens to you, just close the webinar and rejoin, and that usually fixes everything. All right, so let's get started with the webinar. And so Satya, what's there for us in the agenda today?
Yeah, first, thank you Vishwa for the great introduction and the housekeeping, because it's been a gap now, almost I think it's 2 months we have done any webinar. So yeah, please make sure you follow the housekeeping statements. And before starting, I'd like to take you through the agenda. Today's agenda is pretty simple. So I'm going to talk about Trailhead DX 19. I'll talk about what happened there and what are the announcements made during the technical conference. Then I'm going to talk about the developer highlights in this Summer 19 release.
Awesome.
So in Trailhead DX 19 recap, I'll be primarily talking about 3 aspects. The first thing is about the event overview. I know many of the people who might be attending webinar today may not be much aware of this event. For those who are not aware, Trailhead DX is a technical conference which happens every year. So this is the 4th such technical conference. I'm going to talk more about it in a separate slide there. Then I'm also going to talk about 2 primary key announcements there, One is about Salesforce blockchain, and the other one is about making the Lightning Web Components framework as open source so that people can use it. So I'm excited to share that news as well.
Awesome, that's great news.
Yeah. So let me start with the Trailhead DX event stuff, where as I said, it's a technical conference where you can attend more than there were more than 400 breakout sessions, theater sessions, and all together. So our partners, evangelists, and the people from the community have presented awesome sessions there, and more than 30 sponsoring partners were involved to make this event a grand success. And there was more than 14,000 footfall. The people come there, they learn this stuff, they understand the concept, they understand the platform, they have fun while learning on the floors there. And it's not just an event for 2 days, it was also followed by a boot camp where people learned about the platform using Trailhead and also got certifications to their benefit.
Awesome, great. I also heard there was important or an exciting announcement during TDX.
Yes. In fact, yeah, that's a very important announcement and it's a surprising announcement. That is the Trailhead DX is now coming to India. Right, so it is going to be it's going to happen at Bengaluru during December on 19th and 20th of December. You want to add more points to this, Vishwa?
Yes, I think we are all excited for the Trailhead DX India. It's 2 days of learning where you can engage with the product team, the Salesforce evangelist, or everyone. And it's a great event where you can learn a lot of stuff on Trailhead. And freeze your calendars, block your calendars for 19 and 20, and we'll make sure everyone see you at Trailhead DX.
Yeah, and the registrations will be open probably in a short while. So you'll be notified through our social channels when the registrations are open for the Trailhead DX event. With that, I would like to go to our first announcement, which was made there about Salesforce blockchain. So Salesforce blockchain, if I'll have to really talk about this in detail, it in fact needs a couple of sessions. I'll have to make at least 2 sessions there, but I'll try to put it in simple words. Salesforce blockchain is a feature or technology using which we can establish trust between the partners who collaborate together while building the applications. So if an application involves more partners, all these partners can share the data in a trusted way using the blockchain. If you generally see the working of the partners or different entities in the application, most of these companies work in a siloed fashion where they have boundaries around its application for the data. They are not really ready to share the data that easily because they need to gain trust. That's where the blockchain plays a vital role, where we build a network between these partners. It's a trust network where the partners can exchange the data very happily because it's going to provide a lot of security and other stuff. So I'll talk about, yeah.
So Satya, I remember about a feature called Salesforce to Salesforce where I can connect 2 different Salesforce orgs and where I can flow the data between this. So is it something similar to that?
Yeah, it's almost similar to that, but it's much beyond that, because here is not just between the Salesforce orgs, but it's between all different types of orgs. So whether it is on applications implemented on Salesforce platform or it's implemented on some other platform, the data can be shared between all these partners in a trusted way when we use the blockchain.
Awesome, that in a trusted way.
Yeah.
Great.
So let me first define what a blockchain is. If I have to do it in a simple way again, it's a special kind of a database that saves and traces data in a way that is distributed. When I say distributed, the database is not centrally located. Every partner, every entity which is involved in the application, they have their own copy of data. Right, so that's why we call it as distributed. That's where within the network, whichever partner is involved, all the partners can keep their data with them so that they can feel safe, right? Yeah. And the second important thing is whenever there is a change in the data, the change is generated as a block, a chain of blocks, and these blocks are propagated throughout the network so that every partner receives that change and you can verify that change. Only once it is verified by all the partners, then the data is stored in the database. Great. So that's the benefit of it. And third and most important thing is security, right? Security is the primary thing for most of the people to really trust the network and share the data. So here I'd like to give a small example. Let us say different partners are involved in the application and there's a change in the data. Sometimes later a partner feels like the data is tampered. He can easily go back through the chain and understand where the data is tampered. So it's not that easy to tamper anything on this network.
Awesome. So Satya, do we need a lot of coding to implement blockchain?
In fact, when I say blockchain and you want to establish a trust, right? So it obviously involves a lot of coding, right? But not on Salesforce platform. If you are developing it in some other platform, then it might take some 200 to 1,000 scattered lines of code. But on Salesforce, as usual, we can develop most of the things just by using configuration, right? So we can do everything by using clicks there.
Awesome. So I can't wait to implement something on blockchain. Is there a way I can start accessing now?
Yes, Vishwa, you can see on the bottom, but as far as access is concerned, this blockchain is going to be available as a pilot from winter 20 release onwards. But if you want to learn, you need not really wait until then. You can go through the URL that is specified in the slide at the bottom left, where there is a very good Trailhead module on blockchain, so that you can understand the concept in a much better way.
Awesome. So I can get started on Trailhead.
Yes, and when we are going to launch this blockchain, is going to be launched with all supported tools like a blockchain builder, blockchain connect, which makes the things really easy.
Awesome. So I also heard about Lightning Web Components, which are made as open source. Can you give some more information on that, Satya?
Yeah, that's one thing I was waiting for. Basically, I've been developing on various platforms before I started developing on Salesforce. So I know if there is a general way of developing the things, I'll be very happy, right? Particularly as a JavaScript developer. And I don't want to learn too many of the JavaScripts and do the stuff there. If you can develop an application one JavaScript, and if you can use it in some other, it will be really easy, right? So that's where Lightning Web Components framework is now open sourced. So any JavaScript developer can develop the applications on this framework.
Awesome. You mean to say any external developers can start building Lightning Web Components?
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
awesome.
Now let's understand what are Lightning Web Components. I've been seeing this stack for a while now. So we have devised this new programming model, Lightning Web Components programming model, which is based on the standard web standards, due to which we have a real productive applications. And then if you want to compare it with the earlier programming model, like Aura programming model, it is really performance efficient, right? And if you want to even see how, this was one of the common questions I've been seeing at many places when I was doing the workshops. So how do I really measure the difference of performance between the Lightning Web Components and the Aura components? And I recently came through one of the blogs in the developer site, which has given a real comparison there. So those who wants to really check that can go back and refer to our blogs, where you can find that awesome information. And yeah, so this Lightning Web Component framework was launched a few months before, but now we are making it open source. So this is the new edition in summer 19. When I say open sourcing Lightning Web Component framework, I mean it can be used by any of the developers. You can develop the application using Lightning Web Component framework, and you can use it on any of the other platforms like IBM, AWS, Node.js, and all stuff.
That's great news.
Yeah, and so yeah, our code is also happy about it, about open sourcing. Right on the bottom, you can see it dancing. With that open sourcing, we reap various benefits, like we can use this Lightning Web Components framework both on the Lightning platform and also off the Lightning platform, right? And how about the JavaScript developers? I know there are many JavaScript developers who are well experienced, who wants to probably devise new components. They have their ideas in their mind. So what they can do is they can learn this Lightning Web Components framework really easy, and then they can also contribute this code, right? And extend this framework more.
Right. So Satya, where I can find more information to get started on the Lightning Web Components open source?
Yeah, so if you want to learn Lightning Web Components open source, we have some links here. So there's a developer guide, just like our Lightning Web Components developer guide. You can visit this site, lwc.dev, where you can find the guide, and it is an exhaustive guide. You can learn from it. And then the other site which I wanted to talk about today is opensource.salesforce.com. This site provides all the open source softwares that are provided by Salesforce, and also where the Salesforce has contributed, right? And we also have a RFCs. If you want to check the RFCs for the Lightning Web Components open source, then you can check it by reaching this LWC RFC site.
Yeah. So, Satya, what is this RFC? Being a Salesforce developer, I never heard about something called RFC. Can you just give us more information?
Yeah, this is a common term in Internet Vishwa. RFC stands for recommendation for comment, where so anyone can contribute, they can send their comments, and then they can refer the RFCs there and understand more about the platform.
Awesome. So, Satya, are you planning any dedicated webinar for Lightning Web Components open source?
Yes, Vishwas, you like no. In fact, you are stealing my show, right? So yeah, we are planning our next webinar, which is going to be specifically on LWC OSS. So here I'm only going to touch the tip of the iceberg, awesome. But there'll be an exhaustive webinar where you can learn a lot about the Lightning Web Components open source.
Awesome. So everyone who is on the joined webinar today, so you have the link to join the webinar in the chat. You can just go ahead and register for the next webinar as well. All right, so Satya, do we have any demo where you can quickly show us about the Lightning Web Components?
Yes, let's see a quick demo on Lightning Web Components. I want to start with the open source because I'm more interested in the open source concept here. So this is the slide. This is the website, opensource.salesforce.com. And you can see a lot of, this is the timeline where Salesforce has been releasing its open source content. You can see that the OCLIF is the recent one, and it has developed some open source applications. You can go through this application like Transmo, Cliff AI, Oakleaf, and of course the latest Lightning Web Components. So as I said, Salesforce also contributes to other open source tools and technologies as well.
Wonderful.
So today I'm going to talk about Lightning Web Components. So let's go here and click this Lightning Web Components, which will take us to the other side where we can find the Git repository. These are all open source. You can access any of the code and understand how it internally operates, right?
Right.
But again, if you want to develop the applications, as I said, you can go to lwc.dev, or you can go directly from this link. It takes us to the same site where you can find the developer guide, where you can learn about Lightning Web Components, open source again. And then let's go through this document very quickly. But yeah, the first step which we need to do is we can install the application. So one of our developer evangelists, Rene Winkelmeyer, he has devised an application with which you can easily build the applications on Lightning Web Components open source. So you can use this tool, LWC Create App, to create the applications for the LWC framework, right? So let's do that. Let me copy this and let's go and start working on it. If you go to, you can, for that matter, you can use any of the IDEs, but I prefer Visual Studio Code because it's really powerful now, and it has all the required functionalities in our Salesforce extension pack. So let me copy it. So here we are using the npx command, which will be installed when we install your node on your system. So anything 5.2 plus should be good for running the Lightning Web Components framework. And LWC Create App is the app name, and I'm giving some app name called My App. For that matter, you can give any app name there. And yeah, when I enter, it starts creating the app structure for you so that you can write your own code there. And while it creates, it may ask us a few questions about your application. So you can provide that information here, and like your app name, what is the version number, and all of the stuff. Any description about your app. You can see here, it gives the package name, can give any package name there, or accept default for now. You can give description, can give author, can give the version. You can see the license. Now it's open source. Right. It is governed by MIT license there, awesome. Right?
Yeah.
And who is the GitHub owner, you can accept all the defaults. And then to run the commands on this tool, you can either use npm or yarn. It's your choice again. So I prefer npm, but yarn is much easier to do. So I preferred npm so that I can prefer the toughest one and then do the things, right? Yarn will be much easier anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us create it. So while it creates, let's also go through the other parts of the document. If you see this document, these are the commands which you can use, and then there is a separate set of apps, because I saw people liking recipes very much in liking web components. So we have the recipes app even for the open source, right? You can go to this site, clone the examples and try to understand those examples and keep learning. So all the examples that are being used in this documentation refer to this recipes OSS app.
Awesome. I think this is a great resource for us.
All right. For those who don't want to install any Node.js on system, they can still work on LWC OSS. They can go to the playground, which will be available in your component library, and start working on it. Right?
Wonderful.
Yeah. See, it has created an app, right? So you can see that it has created an app called my-app. Right. So it gives a name like my-app, where my stands for the namespace.
Right.
So if you see the app structure, you can use that folder here. You can add that folder. So I created my app here. If we add this folder, you can see the folder structure is created by the tool. And when you see this app, it will be created in modules here. So it has created a namespace called my, and within that it has created an app called app, right? Okay. And it also created a sample Lightning Web component for you.
Wonderful.
And it also installed all the required node modules. If you go through this package.json, so it shows you the node modules that it has installed to run this application. And you can run various commands. You can see a list of commands that you can execute in this node module as well. Right, let me open package.json. So you can see here I can run all these commands using my npm, right? And if you carefully see this structure, we have an index.html file, which can be an open file, which you can run on any server basically. And you can use your Lightning Web component within this application. You can see it's a plain HTML in which I used my component. You notice that I've given it as my-app.
Right.
This is how LWC is generally referred to, right? Kebab case. So that's how I am using it. And if you go into the app.html, this is where you can see I'm using a component called myGreeting.
Right.
Right. And if you go to this myGreeting component, which is again a sample component created for you to easily understand. So here you have a simple greeting, which you are populating from your JavaScript file, like you have imported Lightning element, track, API. This is the common structure.
Wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
Fine. Now, if you want to really see how it works, execute and see, we have a application called server, where you can run the server as well. So this is called as LWC services, which you can start and start using it. Right. So in order to start that, you can use a command called watch. Let me open my terminal here, and I'll use the command npm run watch. So when we do this, right? Okay. I'm not currently in this directory. I need to go to this directory. Let us go to the directory where we have the application running. Let us go to cd. Let us go to that my app folder, and then let us try to run that command npm run watch.
Okay.
When we do that, it starts the server.
Oh, nice.
Right? And you can see that it is running locally. You can test your components locally. So it loads the index file there. Let me quickly run it. If you open it in the browser, you can see it is running our component there, where it shows the greetings in different languages. That's what we have in our component. If you see your component code here in greetings.js, we have all these things. So you're seeing that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for the wonderful demo, Satya. We loved it really. I thank you so much for all this, but I also heard there are a lot of new updates in the summer 19 release. Do you have specific or your favorite highlights for the summer 19 release which you can share with us?
Yes, again, if you say updates or features in summer 19, there are more than 300 features. So I have filtered out the features which are really important for the developers. And today I'm going to cover at least few things there. I'm going to cover the features that are available for the developer productivity. So what are the things that have come up in the developer productivity where we can develop the applications in a much better and faster way. And I'll also going to talk about Lightning platform. What are the new innovations in the Lightning web components and the new features there. I'll be talking about the streaming API, where I'll talk about change data capture and platform events and how to use those stuff. We'll also see what are new in the Lightning experience in general, in the mobile, and also any updates in the instance services. We'll also see any apps that are added in the sample gallery as well.
All right, let's get started with one of those.
Yes, the first one, which is very important for any developer, is productivity. So let's see what we have in our store for the productivity factor. So if you see, a Salesforce developer can develop applications for two different workflows, basically. Correct. Two different workflows. One is org-based development, the other one is package-based development. If he is doing a org-based development, then the source of truth lies with the production org. Right? So all your source stays there, and you can develop your applications on sandbox, and then you can deploy your applications using change sets and other stuff. But when you're using the package development, which is the most modern development, where you build your application in a modular way as packages, where you'll be using temporary orgs like scratch orgs, so every developer can have his own scratch org, and then he can develop everything on the scratch org, and then he can deploy that package into either another scratch org or a sandbox or a pre-release org or a production org.
So what's new in the org development, Satya?
Yes. So on the org-based development, we are now using some modern tools. We know this is the traditional approach of development. CLI has come up with new commands for the org-based development. Now you can create the sandbox right from your CLI itself. You can also clone it, and delete is there for a while, and it is much improved now. And we have a command to list all the sandboxes in the command line interface, and we can also display information about a particular sandbox. This is still in beta. You can enable it, and then you can try it.
Wonderful.
And the second thing is, this was one of the most common asks from the developers when I was doing workshops and stuff. Because if they want to deploy the application on the sandboxes, they have to use the command MD API commands, right, to deploy and retrieve. Right. Now they need not really use it. They can directly use source deploy and source retrieve. So now the source deploy and retrieve is very much consistent with what we have in MD API. So now it completes the full life cycle. Now you have all the commands for your application life cycle within the CLI.
That's great news. So what else you have? What's new in the package development?
Right. In package development, we have many things, but I cannot list all the things. Let's see a few of them. So we can create the environment now with more scratch-off features. We already have a lot of scratch-off features. We can configure the scratch-off even before creating it, and then we can spawn the scratch-off, right? So now you have more than 20 plus new features that are added for the scratch-off there. And then if you are using Einstein, if you are a big fan of artificial intelligence and using Einstein bots there, so earlier you need to, you had to configure the Einstein bot in each of the scratch-offs. Right. Now you need not do that. You can configure it in the Dev Hub and just add that feature in the scratch-off definition file. Your scratch-off is built with the capability of developing the chatbots.
Wonderful. Any updates on the scratch-offs?
Versions?
Yeah,
in fact, that is what. So you can. So this is one important thing. Now people develop the applications for the current version. They may want to check it and see in the pre-release how it works, or did it break from the earlier version. Now they can spawn scratch-off with the different versions. You can create a scratch-off for the preview version. You can also create scratch-off for the previous version, while current is the default.
Awesome. So while we are talking about the package development, Satya, we have been using VS Code and CLI for a long time now. Do you have any new updates or improvements on the CLI and VS Code?
Right, as I said before, I have many things to share, but yeah, again, with the limitation of time, I can only share a few of the things. So let me do most important things. One common complaint from the developers was when we run commands like sfdx force org list, right? The command used to take a lot of time.
Right.
to retrieve the information. But now Salesforce CLI is migrated to Heroku's Oak Cliff, right? So due to which the CLI has become much faster. We'll see it in an example as well. That's one important point in this release. And then when we create the projects using Visual Studio Code, it creates the project with a expanded scaffolding, right, for Salesforce DX project structure. Earlier, we had to think what are the folders that are to be added. Depending upon your requirement, you should keep thinking about the folders and keep adding those folders. Now you really need not worry about it. So it has an expanded folder structure. But if you want to use the earlier folder structure, you can use the same for, project create command with a template attribute set to empty. So which creates a minimal folder structure for your Salesforce DX project. And one important addition to our Visual Studio Code this time is a feature, a tool called Lightning Explorer, with which you can see all the components, just how you are seeing it in the component library. In the similar way, in a much better interface, you can see it on the your Visual Studio Code environment itself. So there is a Salesforce Aura extension for VS Code, which supports auto completion feature now. Again, it's in beta mode. You have to enable it. And one more important feature command that is introduced in summer release is force auth list. So this is the new command with which you can list out all the authorized dogs. Earlier you had to do you had to go and find out the aliases and bring that information and then list it. Now you need not do that. You can use force auth list there.
Awesome. So Satya, do you have any quick demo for us to showcase all these?
Yes. Yeah. Let's go through the demo there. So yeah, I have one project already opened, and you can see that this is the folder structure. It has developed it has given us complete folder structure. We have .vs code. In that, it has given files like extensions.json, where you can define what are the extensions that will be most useful while developing, while working on this project. Right? You can give all the VS Code extensions list here. It is going to install those extensions while it is launched. And not only that, it has created all the necessary folders there. This is the VS Code project structure. And I was also talking about a few commands added for the sandbox-based development. So if you see here, force or create, let me type the command, force or create. Let's see its help. If you see this, now you have a new attribute called ---- type, where you can mention it as scratch or sandbox. So when you're creating it, if you give the type as sandbox, it's going to create a sandbox for you. Let's also see one more command. I said now we are supporting the full application lifecycle. So if you see any of the commands are like source alt, force source deploy or force source retrieve. Now it has become more powerful. You can see you have a better control while deploying the applications, even on the packages, right? You have many flags which were there in your metadata. Those flags are introduced even in your force or deploy command. You can find a lot of examples now. You can deploy specific source files, specific Apex class, whatever way you want to deploy, you can do that there. And I said the commands have become really fast. Let me show one of the commands here. Let me say SFDX force auth list. I said this is one of the recent commands, right? Let me say force auth list there. You can see it's that quick.
Right.
You got all the args information, its instance URL. You can also list down your authentication string and stuff there.
Awesome, awesome.
And one more important feature which I wanted to show here is the Lightning Explorer. Mm-hmm. So this is one new tool here. So you can see a small add-on here, Lightning Explorer. This can be, in fact, added by enabling one of the features. You can go to the settings, mm-hmm. and then you can enable the Lightning Explorer there. If you say Lightning Explorer, so this is the checkbox which you need to enable. Once you enable this, you can see this tool here.
This looks really amazing, Satya.
Right. And from this tool, you can directly go and refer to any of the components. Let us say Lightning Accordion. It shows all the attributes there.
Awesome.
And if you want to refer to the component library, you can also click this, which will take you to the Lightning component library, where you can see the information about that particular code. You can see it opens the component library for you, and it goes to the accordion page, and you can refer to that. And not only that, you can also refer to the components, any of the components that you have locally built. It opens that component and shows that information here.
Perfect. That looks great. Thank you so much for showing all the new functionalities, Satya. With that, do you have any new updates on the Lightning platform?
Yes. So Lightning platform, we have for the Lightning web components, some new features are added, and even some existing features have been improved. And one of the most important thing that is released in this particular release is the ability to use the Lightning components in Visual Force, Lightning Out, email integrations, and standalone app, right? So these are the places where you can use your Lightning web components. This was asked by many of the people outside, even on Twitter and other places. Can't we use the Lightning web components directly in the standalone apps? Now you can do that.
Awesome.
And there are some improved components. So as usual, every release, we also keep improving the base Lightning components while also introducing the new components there. So these are the components which are improved in this release. And yeah. So some modules are also changed here, like Lightning navigation module and ease guest, which you can use to verify the logged in user is a guest or not. And yeah, these are the new modules which I was waiting for. In fact, EMP API. This was there. Do you remember, Rishad? This was there in Aura, which was released for Aura 1 year back.
Yes, I do remember.
Yeah. Until then, there was no client application to listen to the streaming API.
Right.
So with EMP API, it's the client which can listen to the streaming API there, right?
That's all awesome, Satya. Do you have any demo for us to showcase with all these new features?
Yes. So let's go through a small demo here for the Lightning web components. Let us, I have already implemented a web component here, Hello Binding web component, which most of us already know. It is from the sample gallery, which can accept a greeting and as an input and then display it as the output. Now you want to use this component in your standalone application. You can do that just by simply using it in the as a tag within the standalone application. And notice that we are not using C minus hello minus binding here, but we are using the Aura syntax because this component is being used in your Aura application.
Awesome.
Right. So let me show you quickly how does this application run. So I will have the standalone app open here. You can just click on preview. You can see that now our component, that's the code I've written. It's only one line of code, right? And I can see the standalone application there.
Awesome.
And as I said, we can also use this in Visual Force pages. Mm-hmm. If you see here, what you need to do is, in order to use it in Visual Force page, we will include the Lightning library, Lightning Web Components library, via JavaScript library here by using a simple tag called apex::include Lightning. Once it is included, then we can create a sample app in which we'll define the dependency here as hello binding, right? And that will be, once it is defined, that can be referred in the script in your Visual Force page, where we are using a function called $lightning.use, with which you can import the sample app and you can create a component. Now you can see that I created a component called hello binding. But where do I display? For that, I created a div here with an ID, and I'm giving that div name here so that the component will be displayed there. And we can do any callback within the callback function. If you want to do any post processing stuff, you can also do that.
Great.
Let me quickly show you the app there. So yeah, this is your LWC page app where you can see the similar output what we saw there in our
Awesome.
app.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much, Satya. I might be asking you a lot, but I have read an interesting blog on the change data capture and asynchronous apex trigger. But I'm interested to know more about it. Do you have some time to share some information on that?
Yes. So these are the streaming API, right? Latest, I can say these are the second version of the streaming API. The first version was like generic events and stuff. So platform events and change data capture is the second version. For those who doesn't know what is change data capture, it is available since December 2018. And you can see a diagram here. I have three different partners who are involved in a transaction or maybe want to share the data there. I have a Salesforce, I have AWS and SAP there, which are sharing the same account record. So these external systems like AWS and SAP wants to get notified instead of polling whenever there's a change in the record. So what it can do is it can subscribe to a channel, right? In this case, change events channel. And once it subscribes, whenever there is a change in the account record in Salesforce, that is propagated to the channel through which it's further propagated to your external systems, and those systems will be updated.
Awesome.
So with that, you have a lot of benefits. Like in fact, like if you have to do this in other platforms, you have to write a lot of code. Here it can just be done with click, and the other benefits are you need not do any polling there. We are in fact not doing any kind of integration and stuff, but still it works.
Yep.
Okay, so that's all about change data capture. So as I said, like change data capture, other applications or other part of code is we'll get to know that an event happened, right? So that event will be propagated to those parts of code where you can do any kind of additional processing. That's where now with summer 19, you can in fact write apex triggers which can get the events of change data, right? So once you get that event, you can do any kind of post processing within the asynchronous apex triggers. But when do you use the asynchronous apex triggers? If you want to do any kind of heavyweight post processing, now I can say that like any transaction. When I say transaction, a transaction can be a combination of your database transaction and also any kind of post processing. So any transaction which has a heavyweight post processing, then you can choose the asynchronous trigger to process such kind of events. And one more important feature released in summer 19 is now even external objects are supported for change data capture. That is generally available. And so any external object changes the data there, that is also notified. So we can listen to it using any of our apex code, like apex triggers again.
Awesome, awesome. So Satya, do you also have a quick demo for this?
Yes, I'll try to do a really quick demo here. I have an opportunity. Many of people be working on CRM know what an opportunity is. So I have an opportunity here. So what I want to do is whenever this opportunity is changed with some higher value, so I just let me change it to say 3 lakhs. Currently, let's assume our opportunity is at 3 lakhs there. So whenever I change it to a higher value, more than like $5 lakh, okay. So I want to identify this particular account as a high priority account. Now, if you see this Tom Sales Corp, if I see that account here, Tom Sales Corp is currently at a low priority. So what I want to do is whenever I make the change, so whenever I make a change in this opportunity, so an event will be generated, opportunity change event, which will be propagated to the asynchronous apex trigger there, in which I want to do some post processing. I want to do some complex processing to identify whether that particular account is a high priority account. Okay, so let's do that. Now I'll change it to say, let us say 5 lakh.
Okay.
Let us refresh this page. So if I change this to 5 or 6 lakhs, let us make it little higher. So I like this customer very much. I don't see. Yeah, let me change it to say 6 lakhs, and let us save it. It generates a change data capture event. In fact, I also have a Heroku application where I can see the opportunity change events. Opportunity change event. So I can in fact subscribe to this and see that it has generated a event there, right? So now we can see it is subscribed. So whenever I make the change, now I can see that it has got all the events that are generated in the recent past in the channel listed here. Okay, listed here. So now you can see that I have recently changed the 6,000, and this change event is propagated in the form of a JSON.
Right.
Where you also have the record ID. So now you can take this record ID and process it, right? And then make the changes. Now if you see here, the Tom account, let us refresh this page once, and you can see that it has changed, should change if I'm lucky enough. Yeah, the customer priority is changed to high, right?
Awesome.
So
Yes.
this is how it works.
All right, thank you so much, Satya. I remember you showing, you explaining us about something called Einstein Platform Services and other new updates on mobile. Can you do a quick walkthrough of those new updates for us?
Definitely, I would do that. But yeah, before that, I just want to quickly show you what we have done in the change data trigger to make it work. So the only thing is you write a trigger here on opportunity change event here. So whenever it is inserted, so this will be like called, and you get all these opportunity IDs in your trigger.view, which you can process, and then you can do any kind of post processing. Here I've written account class where it does a complex work there and returns it.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Now you are asking about the new Lightning experience features. There are many features that are released. I may not be really able to talk about all those features. So if you see here, configuration converter is one feature which can identify the Visualforce pages which are really tough to migrate to your Lightning experience. So if someone is migrating to Lightning experience, it's going to identify all such Visualforce pages and also gives you a way forward. It gives the suggestions. It's in beta again.
Got it.
And now you can see your records in your Lightning experience with more information in a single page, like your Visualforce page there, by using the full view, which you can enable it again, which is in beta. And then the third important feature is notification builder, where you can create your custom notifications. Earlier it was not possible. You could only give the standard notifications, and even if you want to give custom notifications, you had to do some workarounds. Do you remember that? Right. So you have to do workarounds like create a chatter within your process builder and do the stuff there. Now you can create a custom notification from the user interface and straightly use it. Perfect. And you can also use your Apex class, which has some properties defined it as a data type within your flow. Now flow is limited by the basic data types, right? Now a developer can create a Apex class with a set of properties with Aura enabled, and that class can be used as a data type within the flow. So you can handle the integrations directly. You can copy the JSON response of integration into your Apex class with the new release. And you can also prompt the users with a new feature called in-app guidance, where when a user logs in, it shows a prompt there. And Lightning Mobile, now you have the similar user interface like your desktop interface, and you get the same look and feel. And in instant platform services, the limits were increased. Earlier it was 1 GB, now it is 2 GB, whether you are using instant vision or you're using the natural language processing. the text that is written can be like, or images that can be written can be of size up to 2 GB, which is a really interesting feature for the instant developers. Yeah.
Awesome. So Satya, I see a sample gallery slide on your screen. Do you have some new sample gallery apps available for us?
Yeah, even I was thinking that was introduced accidentally, but no. Yeah, sample gallery. Now, really developers, most of the developers who are learning the platform newly or try to understand the features for their existing requirements, they are relying on sample apps. So we are well acquainted to these apps now, recipes, e-bikes and stuff, but there are two new editions, two new kits there. One is recipes open source. As I said, if you are working on the LWC OSS there, then you can use the recipes open source to see the examples. And there is good news for the administrators as well. Till now, all the sample gallery, most of the times, though it catered to the administrators, it was a mix-up of things. But yeah, Redwood's Insurance is for the administrators to see the configurations in the sample gallery.
Awesome.
For those, as I said, like, in this short time, it's really tough to cover all the content. So what I've done is I've just summarized everything in a single slide here. So those who wants to see what are the features at a very high level that are released in summer 19, you can probably pause this video when we release it in our YouTube channel, Salesforce Developers channel. You can pause this video at this page and see what are the new features in all the clouds.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for all the information, Satya. All right. Thanks for all the wonderful demos and informative sessions, Satya. So, all right, everyone. So you can see something called the more you know on my screen. You can learn more information about the Summer 19 release, and you can continue your journey with us and discover what's newly available for our admins and developers. You can click the URL salesforce.co/buildspiration and get this completed.
This is a new thing, right, Vishwa?
Yes.
So it was introduced in this release. Yeah, so it is really interesting. It has all the blogs. It has also the trails where you can see the summer 19 release highlights for the administrators and also summer 19 release highlights for the developers. You can go through the complete trail, which gives the most important features.
All right. All right, so I think it's time for Q&A. Let me pull some questions out so that we can take a few questions as we are running out of time. Satya, I see one of the questions, someone says, is it new database earlier Salesforce was using?
Is it new database earlier Salesforce was using? It's not a database for the Salesforce, but it's a distributed database when we talk about the blockchain. Right, so it's altogether, as I said, it's a special database, which is not located at a central location, or rather it is distributed across all the partners. So each partner has its own copy of that database.
Okay, I think there's a follow-up question here. So what is the benefit of using blockchain over the Salesforce traditional database?
As I said again, Salesforce traditional database, we can still use it for your Salesforce applications. Salesforce blockchain will be specifically useful when multiple partners are collaborating over an application and want to securely exchange data, right? So what is the benefit? Yeah, whatever I was listing, those three are the primary benefits. The one thing is it's distributed. Whenever you create a data, it is exchanged in the form of your blocks, which has a hash in each of these blocks. So if someone tampers, you can easily identify that it is tampered, and all further the transaction will be cancelled, right? So that way you can have a higher trust because you have a lot of security involved while using this database.
All right, got it. So another question, Satya. So open source is awesome, but can we use LWC as a front end and Java as backend instead of Apex? Can LWC communicate with Java servlet?
Yeah. This is an interesting question. That's where when we make it as an open source, this LWC component framework is like any other JavaScript framework, right? If you can do something on the JavaScript framework, as you can use, if you can use it as a front end and then communicate with any kind of back end there, you can still do the same thing with the LWC open source as well.
All right. So another question is how to interact the open source LWC with backend server for the data.
So we are going to come up with new things. For now, I don't think we can really interact with the backend, but yeah, in the future releases, you can see that we can interact with the backend on Salesforce.
Okay, the other question is, what are the basic extensions we have to install in VS?
So you need not really worry about the extensions here because Salesforce has taken care of. What you can do is you can install a single extension pack, which is a combination of a lot of extensions. Like if you install Salesforce extension pack, it installs all the required extensions like CLI extension, it installs the extension for your Apex coding, it installs the extension for your Visual Force and whatnot. It installs the extension for your Lightning Web Components, all this stuff. So the only thing you need to install is a Salesforce extension pack.
All right. So another question, Satya, can we create update setup object using change data capture event?
So probably the question, okay, can you repeat that question once again, Vishwa?
Okay, can we create update setup object using change data capture event?
So change data capture event can generates an event whether you do an update or you do any kind of operation on the record, and that can be captured obviously. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Let me pull a few more questions. Okay, the other question is, can we connect our Salesforce org to LWC Playground?
Can we connect our Salesforce org to LWC Playground? No. So LWC Playground, like no, it is divided for a different purpose. How you can leverage LWC Playground is you can build the prototypes, user interface prototypes on the LWC Playground, and then once the prototype is built, and you can use your CLI and then connect it to the org.
Okay, got it. Can we pull more questions? Okay.
I can see one question here, Vishwa. Someone is asking, asynchronous FX is only for post-processing in Salesforce, right? Absolutely. So asynchronous FX is where we can do the post-processing after any database transaction, because the change data capture event will be generated only after database transaction. So we can enable it. So how does it? It doesn't generate the event for all the objects. So first, what you need to do is you need to enable the change data capture for a particular object. Only then, whenever there is a change in that object, it generates an event. This change could be any kind of database transaction, right? So after that, you'll be doing the any kind of heavyweight post processing in asynchronous FX trigger.
Yeah. All right, I see some common questions. Can we get the recording of the webinar? Yeah, you would be able to see it on the same page where you have registered. You can also follow Jerry or any of us so that you can see it in our social post. All the links are available in the chat window.
Yeah, I can see one question here. Probably this might be our last question. So someone was asking how to set up Lightning Explorer in VS Code. As I said, there is a simple option. What you can do is you can go to the Visual Studio Code, setup from your file menu, and then in the setup you can enable the Lightning Explorer tool. Once you checkmark that, that is showed even in the demo. Once you checkmark that, this will be readily available for you.
Awesome. All right, don't forget to join our chatter group at bit.ly/webinar in APAC. You can see the link in the chatter post for more updates and new webinars which are lined up for you. And one last thing, you might receive a feedback survey, and please make sure that you fill the survey which you receive so that we can make our webinars better and better. With that, thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Hope you had great fun learning, and keep blazing new trials and happy learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone who has joined today.